right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for our last Brown Bag webinar of the spring term. This is Mark Dempsey from the National Convergence Technology Center, welcoming you to today's presentation of Lights, Camera, Education. If you haven't already, please put your name and your school in the chat box so we have a good record of the attendance today. There should be time at the end for Q&A, so if any questions or comments come up along the way, please put those in the chat box. We're going to try and answer some of them as we go along as well. And also there will be a short survey for everyone at the very end of this half hour. Okay, so our presenter today is Adam Richardson. He is an assistant professor of cybersecurity at Lansing Community College, a founding member of the Capital Area IT Council Cybersecurity Group, an advisor for the Lansing AI Club, and a software engineer on the side. So we thank Adam for his time and expertise. I'm going to turn it over to him now. So thank you, Adam, for joining us.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? You can just toss it in the chat as long as I actually have a good connection here. Just want to make sure you're hearing me okay. Excellent. Thank you, Cindy. Well, let's do this. Let's have a party. I'm one of those people who thinks that an online experience can actually be a wonderful experience in terms of learning or whatever else you might be doing. And many of our students have that same opinion. If you look at social media, you look at things like Twitch, these are a big deal in our current society. So let's just jump in. Lights, camera, education. I think all of us put in a lot of time when we try and consider how to establish a physical classroom. That is to say, if you saw this particular classroom, you might think, hey, I'm going to try and do something with the lighting. This looks very disheveled. I'm going to try and do something with the walls. This might not be the physical environment that will lead to the best learning experience for our students. Look at this one instead. In contrast, ooh, I never choose to sit in the front row. I'm one of those. But I'll tell you what, look at those seats in the front row. I would absolutely walk to the front of this classroom and have a seat myself. That's a beautifully put together room. Look at the big screen, the very good lighting. You can see the carpeting, which is going to cut down on the echo. It's a very good learning environment that's been carefully considered. Well, and Trevor, see, some of you love the front row. You can have it most of the time, unless it's that classroom. So now look at this. Unfortunately, I've actually seen online experiences. This is like the worst case scenario, and that's actually me. It hurts me to see this image, but I presented, this is worst case scenario here. So a laptop that's actually literally on the lap, faced up the nose. This angle, you wouldn't be able to make out much in terms of the face. The lighting comes from the back, so it puts your face in the shadows. This is not what we want, but it's even worse than this for our online classrooms. If we're honest with ourselves, if we look here, this is more reflective of what our students actually are experiencing in the real world. Look, they're out in some type of coffee shop, or they're at home and the kids are running around and they're trying to focus on what's in front of them. And that's very difficult, especially if we don't consider our online classroom environment. The good news is we all can make changes. We can all do things that make things a lot better. So let's look at how we can help things out here. First and foremost, lighting. It's good to be able to see the person who's actually talking. If you're actually going to be on video, then lighting is a big deal. In my particular setup right now, I have two big ring lights to the left and to the right of me. And that's to ensure good lighting, a lack of shadows. And also, I see Mark says, would love to know how you make yourself appear small in the lower corner. We're going to get to the advanced stuff. You betcha, that's coming up. So but the quick answer is OBS, and we'll talk about it. So if you look at this picture, all we have is a simple ring light. A ring light diffuses the light, so there's no one point that gets all of the light. That's a good thing for when you're actually trying to present online. I have 2 ring lights, which helps take away the shadows. I actually have a green screen behind me. That's part of the magic. There's nothing magic about green. It can be any color, honestly, but green is one of those colors where if you try and filter it out, there isn't a lot of green in my shirt or in my skin. Reds and other colors, blues, that's more difficult to filter out. But green, you can typically use what's called a chroma key and filter that out. So we'll get to that too. But if you see this picture, you don't need a lot. Now, the good news is if you don't want to spend anything on a ring light, you don't have to. Make sure whatever light is in the room comes from the front on your face. Don't ever have a situation where the light is coming from the back. It'll put you in the shadows, and it's like that original classroom. No one, is that a great experience? Now, we can also control our camera to some degree. Now, you could get an external camera and add that to your system. I actually have a Logitech Brio, which is a separate camera that's actually a USB camera plugged into my current rig. Sometimes if I'm really fancy, I'll use a DSLR, plug it in. But you can even, I always want to come back to the idea that you can make real differences if you just use some cheaper options too. So for example, let's say you don't have money for a new camera, we only get so much money, we're professors. Well, look, you can control the positioning of your camera. Sometimes if I don't have any options, I put it on a table and I put a book in the back and I tilt it up a little bit so it's more in line with my face. It creates a better angle. And Trevor, I use the sunlight for my lighting. Sunlight's awesome. If you have good windows, if you have good window locations, then you can't do better than sunlight. I don't actually have that. So for me, the ring lights are a must unless I want to be in the shadows. But Trevor's absolutely right. The sunlight is the best. So lighting's one part of it. Your camera is one part of it. If you can't control, if you don't want to get a new camera, at least position it so the camera is better angled towards your face. Another component is the sound that you're hearing now. Our microphones play a big deal. They're a significant factor in terms of how legible I am to you. Some microphones are what we'd call directional. That is to say, they're selective about which direction they're going to be pulling in audio. And so if you can get what's called a directional microphone, you can limit, let's say you have a dog barking, you're at home teaching, making some stuff, or maybe it's even at work and your colleagues are having a lively discussion right outside your office. It happens. You can use what's called a directional microphone and you can limit that background noise. It makes a big difference. But even if you can't do that, just remember that it's important. A room with carpeting helps. It cuts down on the echo. You'll be able to be heard a little bit better. And sometimes it's just a matter of finding the right window, the right time when you can do it. But a directional microphone just plugs in. I'm using an Audio-Technica 2020. It just plugs in as a USB interface and it's got a pop filter on it. A pop filter just, I tend to accentuate my stuff, my P's and T's. It keeps that from coming through as a peak in the audio. So another thing that we can do, and this you don't have to pay anything for any new equipment here. This is all you. Make eye contact with the camera. I'm not just making this up. I know some people are thinking, well, why would you have to do that? You don't have to do it, but research has demonstrated that there's a significant autonomic impact when you make eye contact with the camera. If it feels like a live session and you actually make eye contact with the camera, the person watching actually experiences a real effect. So that's on the cheap. You don't have to pay anything for any new equipment there. Every once in a while, make sure you look into the camera. So before I go on here, I just want to tell you what I have set up in my current location. I've got a Wacom tablet to my left. So if I need to draw something really quick, I can use the Wacom. I've got the Audio Technica directional microphone right here. It's got a pop filter on it. I've got one ring light up here. It also holds a mobile phone as part of a camera. If I want that perspective, I can. As I work my way this way, I have one monitor plugged in here and another here. So I have two monitors plugged in, so I have more real estate. I have a Logitech Brio high definition camera in front of me. I have a document camera. You can actually see a live feed of the document camera now. I can just quick make that. There's my document camera. Now, my keyboard's not that cool, but when I'm teaching things like Arduino, I just put it on my desk and I start to work. And that's actually what's up on the screen. Additionally, I'll take off the document camera. As I work my way over, I have my other ring light. And I have, for instance, I have other equipment too. This is a mixer. You heard Mark pumping in some great music earlier as we were waiting for this to begin. I actually, when I'm really getting fancy and I want to be able to control a mix that's actually coming in addition to my microphone, I use something like this. My goal here is not for you to think, oh my goodness, I've got to buy thousands of dollars of equipment. That's not the case at all. What I would say is, I want everyone to know you have options, just like we spend time fixing up our classrooms, our physical classrooms, to create the best learning environment. We can do a tremendous amount to impact how effective our online teaching environments too. For instance, I mentioned lighting. Some of you have window access that makes for perfect lighting. As long as you can record during the day, you are in great shape. But there are these little ring lights. This is just a little Joby stand that attaches to this ring light. And this ring light is very convenient. It just uses a USB. That's it. And you plug it into the USB, and this ring light is very effective up close. If you've got to make a recording and the lighting's not so great, having one of those, that's quite inexpensive. That's like $30. You can have something, if needed, you have that available. Again, for microphones, there are USB microphones that are really, you just plug them in and they start working, but they're directional. The microphone on your laptop's often going to pull in whatever sound is happening. My luck is always that as soon as I start to lecture, there's a rabbit in the backyard. And invariably, my dog starts to bark. Fortunately, my directional microphone helps. Now, some of our software actually has noise reduction too, just to toss that out there. But I want you to know you have these options. I'm going to actually show you just as a quick couple things here. Let me show my browser. So my browser here, you can see, we see that microphones have what are called patterns. This is where I was speaking of directional. If you get one like that looks like this, you don't have to know the fancy words that are associated with it. It just points in one direction. Then that's going to help you. Additionally, Best Buy and other spots, it's easy to find ring lights, etc. And so now that I've talked about some of those basics, I want to give an opportunity in chat. Any questions about this before I move on to the advanced stuff? I'll go actually to my next slide, but I'm just trying to give you a brief overview of some of the tools we have at our disposal. So Go ahead. Anyone, you can mic up or you can type something in the chat. I'm used to reading the chat all the time. I'm on Twitch too. So you can just start typing if you have questions. What brand ring light are you using? So this particular ring light is called a Sun Pack. You'll see it is actually one of the brands that's more predominant on, like best.
Hey, Adam, so you froze. You're talking about the ring lights. You're showing the ring light, then you sort of froze there. Maybe let's back up and start over that part.
Sure, thank you. Sorry about that. That actually brings me to one of my other points. Sometimes redundancy, actually all the time, redundancy is a good time. So just before I move on, let me point out, I actually have my MiFi device right here, just in case my internet goes out while I'm teaching a live session. Apparently, that's a really good thing, right? We know in the IT industry, redundancy is never a bad thing. So in terms of lights, yes, I see the question generally is the brand I was using. This is, again, SunPack. A lot of them are USB plugins. They work very well. And honestly, it doesn't matter too much as long as it is, the ring shape just diffuses. Otherwise, you tend to get one bright spot, a focal point, and it doesn't light as well. So a ring just tends to work better for illuminating our faces. Additionally, let me, I'm going to hide some stuff here. Let me come back over to my slides. Here are some things that I'll can discuss just moving forward. So you see the lighting, cameras, microphones, eye contact, tool prep. Just a quick thing. When I'm looking at my browser, right? And like Melanie's like, right? I see the laughter. That's how it is with us IT people. We know things are going to fail when we need them. Let me show you my browser again. One thing I like to do when I'm going to be using my browser is just even little things like your privacy. When you're browsing things, you don't need your students to see all of what you're Googling ahead of time. And so what you can do is you can go into settings and you can go into appearance, and then you can notice we can take off the autocomplete. So that way up top in your browser, as you're typing in, let's say your infant son's been having colic, they don't see 30,000 results up there related to what can be causing my infant to have these symptoms. You can turn that off for purposes of our live presentations or recordings. And thinking of how we can prep ahead of time is very helpful. JB Groves, I see a link in there for newer light microphone streaming studio. You know what? I'm going to check that out live right now. Let's see. Hopefully, let's see what we've got. We'll just look at it live right here. Oh, look at this. We can look at this real time here and make it a quick assessment. This looks very good. I see the ring light. I see a USB microphone. Let's see what type of equipment we have. We have a I can sort of tip it so it's in view here. That's a nice kit. That's a very capable kit with the case, like Groves points out. Yes. So people asked, how am I doing this that I'm doing right now? Like I'm actually showing up while you see all this stuff in the background. I can show my document camera or my Wacom or my browser or my PowerPoint slides, and you see everything. I'm using a tool called OBS. So let's go look at this, OBS, Open Broadcaster Software. If you install this software, I can scroll down so you actually see, that's what my interface looks like. Now it's complicated when you first get started, but it's not that bad. And if any of you email me, I will certainly help you figure it out. Once you have this running, I can actually use a green screen so that I'm one layer. And actually, for instance, when I want to celebrate with my students, Maybe someone had a great answer or something like this. I can bring in something like this over top. It's not unusual to be loved by everyone, right? Who doesn't want to do the Carlton in their classroom? It's a beautiful thing. When someone has a great answer, you just float that over top and it just livens up the class. If you can bring in the Carlton in any setting, that's a good thing. So I use a green, again, it doesn't have to be a green screen to create this effect. Honestly, a lot of our newer software like Zoom and WebEx, it will try and filter it out. However, when you use those effects, what you'll see is it's rough around the edges. It's using AI to do this and it's making guesses. If you use a green screen and it's properly illuminated, it doesn't have to make guesses. You can just quickly pull out those colors. Let's see here. In terms of my slides, let's look at a few more. Let's look at some of the more advanced topics. Christina, look, I'll share it with the world. It makes it a party when you can do this stuff. Next, quality of service. It helps. Like, this seems especially appropriate given the fact that I just dropped out momentarily. But quality of service, you can always make sure on your home network, or if you want to, if you're not worried about your peers at work and you can somehow get in with the networking team, you can set up QoS for your office. But the idea is you can prioritize the traffic so that your session takes precedent. So that's just a quick reminder in terms of quality for live sessions. Sometimes that's important. I actually have QoS set up here, so that way I get dibs, even if my daughter's watching something on the iPad or whatever else. This particular computer gets dibs because this is for my job. Yes, JB Groves, technology, can't live with it or without it. OBS, I'll just briefly cover this. OBS makes it very easy. And Trevor's like, QoS sounds like we're about to stick our toe in some Cisco networking concepts. Not a lot. I let our instructor Cameron do most of the Cisco stuff here. So let's see here. I want to come back to, well, actually on my slide, you can still see here. I would say for OBS, the beautiful thing here is that you can bring in any window that you have access to on your computer, and it can be part of your background. I can also watch live right here if I feel like no one would ever want to see me larger. But let's say I think for whatever reason, I'm just presenting. I can actually I can just select myself in real time. I can actually make, whoa. Oh my goodness. That's the only time I ever feel tall because I'm short. So you can, on the spot, adjust what stream is being pumped out to your viewers. And it's something that gives you great flexibility. And so often what I'll do is I actually have it set up so I'll put in multiple. For instance, I can have a PowerPoint set up here. So let me do my dock camera. Let's say I want to have multiple things showing at once. I can actually, if I can select it, let me do this differently. I can actually shrink that down and show multiple screens at once. So I'm going to mess it up here, but there we go. And so this gives me the option. Sometimes I want to do sort of picture in picture. I do that live. I just say, hey, all right, we're going to look. Let me bring up my Arduino. We're going to be working on Arduino today, and I have my slides going while I'm actually presenting related to this Maker 1000 microcontroller, etc. So the idea is this tool gives you a lot of flexibility and freedom to try and present whatever you want as best you can. But I want to come back to the basics because we've talked about the advanced stuff. It's so important to first and foremost focus on lighting. Can you be seen well? Do you stand out? Remember, eye contact makes a difference. And additionally, can you be heard? Make sure that whatever you're doing for your audio, if you can get a directional microphone, if you can only make one purchase, maybe sit at Windows and get a directional microphone that actually captures your voice well. Because your students are coming for you as part of this engagement. And if they can't hear you, they're missing out. You all have wonderful things to share and offer them in their learning experience. So there you go. There's the quick takeaway here. The idea that we should be thinking strategically, what can we do just as we would in the real world in our physical classrooms? What can we do to make a better learning environment? What can we do in our online classrooms to also create the best learning environment possible? And I'm one of those people, I love reading in the chat. So I keep up. Actually, one thing I do also is I parrot anything. So for instance, JB just typed in, when someone types in class, I say, oh, JB, great point. Excellent. Many thanks. Highly energized presentation. Buying the one I found. Got class. I'll see you later, JB. But I try to real-time parrot what the students are saying so they feel like they're having an immediate impact on the engagement in our online classrooms. So it's 1:58. I don't want to keep you over because I know you all have classes to either teach or prep for, but I thank you for being here to listen to me banter on about all the things we can do in this online environment. Any questions? Any concerns?
So Adam, I'm going to have Christina put the survey link in the chat box. There was one question to me. Can you show again how you change the size of yourself in that corner? And as Adam's doing that, please take a moment, do the survey in the chat box there, the link, the Google form. That'd be great when we hear your feedback. And we thank Adam for his time. So Adam, go ahead and answer that question and we'll be done.
Sure. So again, I'm in OBS and OBS puts layers on the screen. There's a layer that's my camera. There's a layer that's, in this case, my slides. That layer is behind me. Well, I can just click on my layer, the one that represents my camera, and then I can just drag the corner up. And so I'm just manipulating the layers. It's like editing images in Photoshop. You do so effectively in layers, non-destructive layers. It's the same principle for OBS. Hopefully that helps. You can follow up with me and ask any questions you want. No, but I do like online karaoke. I will say, you will find me there. That is my bag.
Well, thank you again, Adam, for your time. That was fantastic. Thank you everyone for joining us. We're going to record this, put on YouTube. If you like it, share with your colleagues and everybody can share in Adam's expertise. And if you're watching a recording of this webinar, please share, follow, and like us. All right. Thank you for your time today, and we'll see you again soon.